It was the cheapest. Yeah. Everybody. You're gonna see, you know? Now, better or worse, not expensive. Welcome to our March meeting. Thank you all for coming out to our second meeting at St. Aidan's. We'll talk a little bit about the future of that, our two business section. But appreciate y'all putting out such a nice warm evening. This needs to warm up already. I've got a ton of work I need to do. I'm sure the rest of you do too. Any visitors or new members join us the first time tonight? Welcome. Come see your name, call sign.
Taking Megan, call sign is KF8 CSL.
Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
Mark Oleskowitz, WAAUNL.
Welcome, Mark. Well, glad to have you. All right. Anybody else have this? Anybody? It's much bigger. Everybody's spread out now. I love it. All right. Crammed into the library. All right. Well, let's do our roll call. I am Cliff, AD9TX. Good job.
John, KEYYZ. Sean, AE8SD.
Dawn, W8LFF.
Sandy, AK8K8.
Bill, AD. Gerald.
Tom, KE8YVH.
Mike, K8AGY. Jeff, KB8CRM.
Andy, KD8ZPX.
Chuck WV8A. Zach K8ZRY.
Dave, AE8DE.
Scott, KE8UXG.
I'm James Keller, W8WW.
And APTU.
Nick, NAREW.
John Hanson, W8PGH.
Scott, KA0FEA. Mike, KE8YMN.
Mark, W8UNL again.
Kevin, KF8 CSM.
Matt, KF8DE.
Tim, K8JMU. Peter, N8RI.
Marsha, W8ZJU. Doris, K8DXJ.
As KTA. Tim, KE8 PGZ.
Brian, KF8EEJ.
Tom, KCC.
Mike, N8LR.
Roy, K8LXX. John,
Got a couple more.
K8PIJ.
Ron, K8DTJ.
John, K8CRK.
Keith 1, KE8AUO.
Hey, I'm Keith too.
So now it's Keith Uno and Keith Dulce. In this program. Who all's been on the year since the last time we got together? Oh, yes. So far, like, oh, but good deal. Good deal. I'm glad everybody's radioactive. Got a handful of executive board announcements tonight, but I really want to start off by, we've had a little bit of changing of the guard with the board. Every year we elect or re-elect our directors at large, and little retirements this year. Zach was okay with the retirement word, so I decided to stick with it. But Zach and Keith won. I want to thank them for everything they've done and continue to do for the club, and just appreciate y'all very much. But we do have our 2025 directors. First off, Mike and AMR decided to stay with me one more time, and I appreciate that because they definitely appreciate his guidance and all of his support as well. And then we've got a couple of new directors. We have Tom, KD8YVH. Right here. Okay. And our very own Alan at 8BTU. So, glad for 2025 and look forward to the gentlemen. So thank you for volunteering and being a part of our shenanigans here. Hero brought up an idea on our last board meeting or so. It might actually have been during the swap. But anyway, we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the Edmund Fitzgerald, right? And this club has been a part of that celebration or whatever you want to call it, recognition for many years. And he had a great idea. So why don't we wrote an article, QST? So I kind of thought about that. I mean, really didn't think about it being a bad idea because I thought it was a great idea. I just kind of thought, how do we do that? So I did reach out to Roy, who's our club historian, and asked him, if he'd like to be a part of that as a club historian, and he did agree to do that. But he would also like to get one of you, whoever's interested, or maybe has a inclination to write, maybe has experience doing that kind of thing before, to be a part of for QST. I would imagine, I don't have the details on it right now. I would imagine it's something that needs to be submitted sooner than later. Probably just like, so I just can't imagine that it's something that they will accept up at the last minute, but we can work on getting those details and submission guidelines, dates, and stuff like that. But if there is anybody who's interested, please email the board, and we'll get you in touch with Roy. Yeah, I think it'd be cool if we could pull it off, but I know it's not everybody's forte to write articles. But if you're interested, let's see if we can get that done. I think it'd be pretty neat recognition for the club being 50th year and all of our involvement in there. And it'd be nice it'd be a good little history project as we work on trying to build the club history too, right? I mean, to see how far back do we go, and being a part of this event. So it'd be interesting if nothing else. A little bit on one thing related to swap business. The board has decided to recognize the efforts of the folks that come in and volunteer, that show up early in the morning, in the cold, in the dark, to help us all out. So if you are going to be volunteering at the 2026 swap, and certainly we appreciate all of your help again, your entry fee will be waived. So that is something that we want to make sure that the group is aware of. Upcoming, we got the Michigan QSO party on April 19th. That's at the Livonia DOC. The caveat is that you do have to be a member of the club to join in the fun there, but it is a lot of fun. And there's already registration information on the website that Zach set up. So sign up information, sign up for, we need help with setup, tear down, obviously, and then of course, operating. It is a really good opportunity to get on the air. If you haven't, if you're new to ham radio or new to HM, maybe just upgraded, or just haven't been a part of a contest kind of thing, I think it's a really good way to get there because you have a ton of support with you. It's a quick exchange of information. And last year we had a lot of folks get on the air for the first time, and they did a really good job too. So would encourage folks to think about coming in and obviously helping us operate. And then last but not least, we've got our breakfast every Saturday morning at Seneca Island. Well, what was 7:30? It's
8, but
it's officially 8. People really is officially 8. Everybody's already in the middle of the meal by 8 o'clock, it seems. So, all right. So, really cool, I think, presentation tonight that Jim's going to be MC for us. And it's now I got into amateur radio, so we'd like to tell us all about how we're going to do this. Look forward to hearing how you all are involved. So,
Check. 1, 2. Can you guys hear me?
what?
Good. Okay. So if you read the newsletter this month, and if you did not, I think Sandy's going to want to have a few choice words.
10 laps around the room.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the newsletter, you may have noticed a new column that's being published called was meet the board or something.
Well, yeah, 2, meet the board, meet the members.
Yeah. So the idea here is to do sort of a profile of our leadership over the course of the next several months. And I'm hoping once we've got through the board that we can extend that.
We did new member our newest member this time too.
So apparently I didn't read the entire newsletter because I didn't start. I'll start running. Thank you. Go with the details. So we are planning on having a member profile in every newsletter. Now, trying to do a little math. Bill just said that we have 118 members. How long do you think it'll take with a monthly newsletter to get profiles for 118 members? No longer than some of us are going to be alive. I'm sorry to say. So what I would like to do tonight is just go around the room, do kind of a round robin discussion. I know some of you are a little mic shy, which shocks me being ham radio operators, but I'm the judge.
That was last Thursday's
Yeah.
topic.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So what I would like from those of you who are willing to speak is maybe 2 to 3 minutes on how you got to be involved in this wonderful hobby. Kind of everything leading up to taking that first exam. What sparked the interest? Since I have the mic, I will start. My mother had an uncle, so I think that would make him my granduncle. My mother's mother is my grandmother. My mother's uncle would be granduncle. Great. I
Please get granduncle.
his name was Campbell Fallman. Very good Scottish name. He was a first generation Scottish American. Here. Thank you very much. All right. Give me a one when I'm down. Cam, my uncle Cam was a World War II veteran, Silver Star recipient, and a musician, kind of just an all-around technical guy. And in the 80s, he got involved in radio. I was in high school when he did that, and he lived in Ventura, California. He would go out periodically and did that. And for my senior trip, I got to go to California with family, and I got to see my Uncle Cam's radio station. I didn't know what that guy was looking at, but he demonstrated it, called CQ, talked to a few people, sparked the idea in the back of my head. Fast forward to 2005, Uncle Cam passed away, unfortunately. My mother passed away a couple years after that, and I was talking to his son, my great cousin, I don't know, about the process of dealing with the loss of a loved one and all the things that you have to do. And I asked him, I said, where's your dad's ham radio? He said, it's packed away. I don't really know what to do with it. None of my kids want it. He said, if you want to sell it at some point, look at it. I'll go. I come home from work about a week later, and there's 4 boxes on my front porch. You're taking the time, and I might add, great expense to box up all that stuff and ship it from California to me. It was a Kenwood TS140S, an Icon 2100H 2-meter rig. Lots of doodads and bits and bobs. I still have that was my very first rig. Now I didn't get licensed until 2011. So that's getting right. In 2011, I managed to take the exam, and that's my origin story.
Nice.
So, by show of hands, who would be interested in giving a 2 to 3 minute? Tom, you're up. You can go ahead and just stand there.
All right. Okay, my origin story is not too long. It was 18 months ago. I was on vacation with family, and my nephew was there, and he brought this box. I'll call it, now that I know what we call it, a go box, but then I didn't know what the hell any of that meant. And so, just as a backstory, I do have a history in playing in electronics and software and computers. So that was, that's natural to me. But so we're on vacation. My nephew goes, he brings out this box, and they start setting up a G90, a antenna, a buddy pole, and then he gets out and starts tuning all this stuff up. And I go, well, what the hell are you doing? He says, well, I'm a ham. I go, I knew a ham because I had an uncle that was one, but I just, at that time, as a young kid, didn't get into that. So it was kind of fascinating that he set this up at the place we were running in northern Michigan. And then he goes, oh, we're going to do something we're gonna go to a park. And that's where I learned this term called Parks on the Air, which a lot of you probably have heard. So what do? We go to a park and he changes from the G90 to this thing called the 7300. Once again, we set up the buddy pole, we set up all this, and he goes out and he has to make the contact. So he's explaining all this as he goes along, like how long this is going to take, what we're going to be doing. And he does, in this case, 11 contacts. And he was on, in this case, he started at 40, couldn't get many, then went down to 20. Once again, I didn't know any of this stuff at all, what we're talking about. And then we did this every day for the next 4 days that we were on vacation, that the weather was cooperating. So it was kind of fun. Every day I was learning a little bit more about this. And then, so he talked about, so I said, well, I'm only interested in joining to get into this. So he gave me one of the online programs to start learning it. And so starting that in the afternoons, I started doing the online test, or I'm trying to remember the name of one of the web-based one, or actually it was an app. And I did that, came back from vacation, a week later had my technicians, the week after that had my general. So in between the week, I actually did the same setup he did, bought a G90, I bought all the stuff used, and went to Mayberry and did my first activation on 10 meter, and then eventually moved on to, different radios and things from that standpoint. So that gives you a quick backstory.
Thank you very much, Tom. That was a great setup too, because Tom is going to be our presenter for the April meeting. April 28th, Tom is going to talk about his Coda experiences. You've done over 1,000 activations by now, right?
I'd have to look.
And I mean, you're up there though, and you're one of the more prolific Coda activators in this area.
Oh, he's gonna go check out Mayberry. You'll see me on the list. Yes.
Yeah, he's 91.
91.
I thought 1,000. 100. We're sick with it because
Doing this first 18 months.
and what you do with your person. All right, who's next?
I'll take it.
All right. Our new director. Sir?
In 1978, I was caught up in the middle of the CD craze and bought a CD and put it in the car. I had it in the car for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And the technician that I was working with, Fred, WHGK8, said, you don't want to fool with that. If you want to get involved in radio, you want to get involved in a real radio. So 3 weeks later, I ended up signing up for the novice exam part class at Farmington Hills Club. Took the class, got my novice license. Fred helped me set up my first station, which was an old Hammerlin HQ 170 and Heathkit DX40 transmitter, and it kept the basement warm. But I bet you I probably, it was 2 years before I took my general class, probably worked maybe 14 or 1,500 stations within an 800-mile radius of Detroit, because all I had was a 40-meter dipole, and I just enjoyed working, LARC CW, and enjoyed it. Stayed with the hobby ever since. But made my general in 80, made my advanced in 80, and I stayed with the hobby since. Someday I'll kick my butt and go get my extra.
Fantastic, thank you so much. I see Keith too over here trying to look inconspicuous. I sit next to you or across from you at breakfast standing here every week, and I know very little about your origin story. So would you be willing to give us 2 minutes? Go for it.
Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
Wasn't even thinking about it too much. But my exposure to amateur radio started in the 1970s when I was a Boy Scout, and it just kind of always stayed with me. I got a little merit badge, and I thought that was cool. And then you went and, well, you learned about girls, and then you learned about cars.
Girls merit badge?
No, but once you had to go to college, you had to do all that stuff, go to work and all that, and then we had children, and the wife said after the kids left, you really need to find something to do with your time. Because chicks were around the house because kids are gone into work, right? And then so it's like, okay, we do. Oh, that thing with the mirror badge and the radio and all that. I'll try and find out what's going on around me. and I talked to a few people, and I looked a little bit online, and it started looking really interesting, and then the community service part, like Skywarn and other things, started looking very interesting. It kind of went back to the Boy Scout thing, and I guess I'm just still a Boy Scout.
But no more merit.
No, I'm not.
And you are, what's your title within the, Aries group? Or is it Racing?
It's Aries and Oxcom, but I'm the emergency coordinator and racing officer for the Wayne County Amateur Radio Public Service.
Yes, keep the big shot.
No,
Sir.
it's just public service stuff. You can do so much with amateur radio. It's a great hobby. I like because you can go slide in any direction as you want. You can go as deep as you want, or you can slide over the surface. It's awesome.
Very good system.
Okay, did I run out my time? Research.
Yeah, you had a minute left, so if you want, if you want to donate it to somebody else, you can.
I yield to the yield.
Yeah. Great. Who's next? Thank you.
I went to Franklin High School and the electronics teacher was Bill Lively. And he had the natatorium club at Franklin High School. And he got me interested in it. And there was a Mr. Davis at junior high school. I can't remember his first name, but he was into it too. Combination of Bill Lively and Mr. Davis. As a kid, it was a little shortwave listening on the Radio Shack multiband radio, and that was about my only real interest. I had interest in radio. My real interest was control line model airplanes, then building flying RC planes. Well, the club I was in, and Detroit Air Libraries had like $250. So if you went out there on a weekend or even a busy weekday, you might have to wait quite a while for some 2 megahertz frequency to become available. There weren't a lot, there were 15 or 20, I should remember, but you had to wait to get the frequency jack available. So in 1991, along came the cordless technician, or they called it at that moment, the cordless technician license, and that put up the ability to be able to get the license to fly the RC planes up to 50 megahertz frequency. So I didn't have to wait. So I was able to get into this hobby to facilitate that, and it kind of lay dormant. I had HDs and a few mobile radios, but got on repeaters here and there, but I didn't really do anything further until I retired a couple of years ago. But that was my origin story, getting into hand radio to facilitate the other half.
That's fantastic. I have 2 questions for you. How many control line planes did you crash? All of them? Yeah. I had one, and it a mess. They're very, very hard to.
I got good at building a profile with the solid sheet balls instead of the very shape.
Yeah.
And the RC ones, it's a different story. That was lots of teams.
The other question, and it's not necessarily for you, but just in general, is shortwave listening an entry point anymore? We gotta.
Yeah.
Because I hear that a lot.
National stations around the year. Well, so wait listings and yeah, it's 160 radio jack. Bare wire antenna. I listened to radio and radio. My favorite was the Mongolia shortwave station, which had English language rendered. Yeah, I just thought it was fascinating to hear stuff from all over America. Real life came along and I had to get, married, kids, school and work and all that stuff. So when I retired 40 years of EMS, the wife said, "You gotta do something." So one of the things, but the last couple of years I was working, my shifts were long and boring, thankfully. But I watched a lot of YouTube and I started tripping over ham radio YouTube channels, and that's what got me back into this. I mean, I did fire up shortwave again. There's not a lot on shortwave anymore. A lot of countries closed up their stations. The United States will shut down Voice of America like last week. But
on the ham side. There's so much stuff happening, it's kind of dizzy.
All right, who's next? Since it's close.
So I got my first license when I was 15 in 1975, it was ninth grade. My dad was interested in model railroading, and so I and my brothers were. And when I was in my pre-teens, there were a lot of articles in model railroading about electronics. So in eighth grade, I could take electrical classes, and the junior high had a ham radio station, which the advisor was the biology teacher, not the electricity teacher. But I got my first license, WN9QI, so that's when the novice had a N as the second letter of your suffix, and that was a 1-year license that was non-renewable. So I took a class that my biology teacher was teaching in the evenings for general, and I failed. So I lost that license. Now, during that year, the SEC dropped novice licenses, so my call sign without me doing anything became WV9 QIE. But so I didn't have a license, and I went to senior high school. They just built a new industrial arts wing, so they hadn't set up the ham radio station. And so as a junior, got my next novice license, which was renewable, WD9EUN. And that was my junior year. Senior year, my best friend and I went down to Chicago. This was all in Milwaukee. We went down to Chicago to the federal building and took our tests to get our general. We both passed the written. He passed 13 words a minute. I did not make it. So I got a technician and he got a general. And then I got an HT, put a 5/8 wave on my car and forgot all about HF. And operated that all through college. And then afterwards, started a career and got interrupted by girlfriends and other things. And ham radio kind of fell by the wayside, but I kept renewing it. When I moved to Michigan in '86, you didn't have to change your call sign to match the region, but that was how I was raised in ham radio. So I became NAHOP. And I didn't really use that at all. I lived in apartments and never bothered setting up in a urban station. But my life expired in '98. And so 25 years later, 2 years ago, I re-earned my novice license. And I heard that if you could prove you had a technician before '87, you could go straight to general. So I found a call book and brought it to the test and showed that I passed it. So I went straight to general. And so I haven't started studying for my hands, but that's the next step. So it's been a good 50 years.
50 years. Wow. Good. Excellent. All right, so I hate that front here.
Similar story.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
When I was really young, I had a great uncle, cousin, whatever, and he passed away. I was about 10 years old at the time, and I ended up inheriting an old helicopter radio. So I actually got introduced by listening to shortwave, and did that for a long time. Didn't know how to get into ham radio a long time. In fact, I still have my uncle's old QSL card, and but he was a Canadian ham, so I could get his call sign and find a digit in it was quite a few years later, after I got out of college, my first job I had, a coworker had introduced amateur radio to me, and we had a conversation about it and stuff. And he actually gave me the novice test directions. I guess individuals could do it if they were a general or an extra, and I think you had to get a second approval on that too. And that only worked for the novice test at the time. And this was in '87 when they had the novice enhancement. So they were introducing new bands at the time. This was 220 and 10 meters, of course, for that. And so I went ahead and I passed my novice. And so then right after that, just April. And so as I'm waiting for my license,
the same friend of mine took me down to date, and of course we got overwhelmed by that.
Right, right.
And I ended up with my first radio, which was a 220 handheld. So I actually started on the 220 band. And so I'd listen and stuff after I got back and see how things were and stuff. And when I actually got my license, which was in June of that year, started getting on the air with that. And right, on my channel, which was a plus because it started listening to my call I got. I just decided to hang on to it. I got general when I dropped the code requirement from 2000, so I just went ahead and brought the general in because I had tried a few times prior. Past the red part, but couldn't get past that. The 10 word mid hump was used to call it. So I got past that, and then I think my license came up for renewal again. I don't know, like 7 8 years ago, and I had got extra at that time. So I was like, hey, that's all the way. And through the years, I've expanded the camera into a lot of different modes. I actually work as a television broadcast engineer. So I actually played with fast scan as well as slow scan television and commercial radio. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah. So then I played with a little bit of digital like PSK, using software and stuff like that. So always expanding, trying different things. So,
Great. Thank you very much. So was 220 active at one point? Is it sure isn't now?
Let's put it this way, it was just as active as 2 meters was. Because all the novices were there. But then when they started dropping the novice class, now the entry is 10. It cooled down quite a bit. And right now there's one repeater of Dan's there. It's the only one on the air besides one Canadian.
Yeah.
Disappeared, unfortunately. I think it's hard to get 220 years or young Peters.
Okay, thank you very much. Who's next?
Chuck's got his hand up.
Chuck! There we go.
So I got into this a lot of way that a lot of others did here with shortwave listening as a gateway. When I was a kid, in the mid to late 50s, my dad had a table radio out of his workshop in the basement, General Electric radio, and had a shortwave band on it, covered from 5 to 10 megacycles, and I could hear all this cool stuff. I could hear the BBC, I could hear Radio Moscow, and also in the middle of that was the 40-meter cam band, which everybody was either running CW or AM at the time. So I could hear all this stuff going on. It sounded kind of interesting. Meanwhile, there was a kid who lived next door to us who, in order to help steer him on the right path, I guess he had joined up with an ROTC program, and that got him into Army Mars. And so every once in a while, our helicopter's television set in the living room would get blasted because he would TVI the heck out of it. But I found that kind of interesting and went down and watched him operate a few times. Our TV repair man, Don, WASQI, lived nearby, and he knew I was interested in all this stuff, so he filtered me through getting the novice and gave me my novice exam. So that, and so in late 61, I became WN8VRS and kept that call through about the end. Got general in 62, got an advanced in 72, and then went for the extra some years later in the 89. Changed my call signs. Found that from early on, I liked working CW. Had to do it to get the exam, all three of the exams. Now was general and extra at the time, and I still operate CW a lot. Also do a little bit of digital, not too much voice, but I still find all of this pretty fun, and telling people that it's kind of cool to have this little box that's the size of your toaster on a desk, and you can literally talk to somebody 10,000 miles away. Still quite
Okay.
good how that works. But this has just been all kinds of. I still like doing it. When I early on, I joined a club the Southeast Michigan Amateur Radio Association, Samara, which we were a pretty large group over on the northeast side of Detroit. We all operated 160 meters, and we all had mobiles on 160, and me and some of my um, snot-nosed teenage buddies operated single sideband on 160, which was heresy at the time. So we were not appreciated, but that was another kind of neat thing we did. So that's just the origin part of it. I'll save the rest of the CV for the written part. But since I thought I might be doing this tonight, I brought along some of my early QSL cards. If you want to look at it, still got a novice card and a couple of general cards and where they're named. So that's still kind of fun. So, and I still always like being in a club, and that's why kind of I'm here too. So, thank you.
Yeah, we'll have time after. Do a little show and tell there. People on Zoom, we can get your audio, so don't think that you're excluded from this. Also, officers and directors, want to chime in. You want to chime in as well? Thank you. Oh, wait. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Yeah, go. All
right, so I've always been a nerd. I know my dad used to have a CB radio. I used to have, and actually have my childhood now, CB radio, the big one that most people now know from Stranger Things, obviously, because that now it's cool. Always played on that. Same story, I pretty much as everybody else. You fast forward, you got kids, you got a life, you're not doing a whole lot of hobbies. However, we did a lot of camping, and the kids always had FRS radios. And I would send the kids, we had 6 kids, so we'd be camping, everybody would have a radio, I'd have a radio, and that was it. They were gone. We wouldn't see them all day long. And so, always kind of playing with radio. And then about 2 years ago, we empty nested. And like many of you in here, the wife said, find something to do. Done computer stuff as a career all my life, so I was like, well, computer career. But what's even cooler? Got my GMRS license, and about a week after playing with GMRS, I was like, my wife's librarian, I said, bring home some ham radio books, I gotta do this thing. And blasted through all 3 tests, and then found a really cool club. Now here I stand.
And now you've learned this
one. And now, and the box that says the toast track I got, I'm sure 10, 115 countries worked already in 18 months, right? Like it's awesome. And I have 20 seconds left, so
you can
what's happening here.
Who's next?
My name's Tom. Some of you know knew my older brother, Dave Pruitt, KCC, James, Alan. Yes. So we grew up here in Livonia. My brother, being 2.5 years older, got into ham radio first. I'm sure it bothered him sometimes that his little brother was wanting to tag along and be interested in the same stuff. But he'd bring home these phone anchors that he bought. I remember a Johnson Viking. I remember was a national receiver, an NC 303. But he got his novice in 1969. I got my novice in 1970. I think he took his test over at the Heathkit store on 8 Mile. Used to be there. I remember that. When I took my test, we went downtown. It was FCC 16. And I started out with the EX60B Heathkit transmitter that I bought at Amateur Electronics Supply. Was it ABS in Milwaukee? I think. Yeah. Okay. And my brother loaned me a HR10 receiver,
and I got with those. I ended up getting my general and advanced in 74. I ended up actually after going to college, getting my electrical engineering degree. I went overseas and spent 8 years as chief engineer at a radio station, and we did actually broadcast shortwave. So some of the shortwave listeners might have heard us, but it was mostly Spanish language. It was in Honduras, Central America. I met my wife there. My son was born there. Uh, but anyways, I have 0 seconds. I didn't even see it start. Just let me say, so my brother actually passed away in 2020, December of 2020. Not related to COVID, but just health issues. So in 2021, I had the privilege of dismantling his multi station that he had out in Superior Township. Trying to find people to help me take the 500-foot towers down, which we only got 2 down. We ended up cutting cutaways on the last 3 because we'd sold the house already and the new owner was getting impatient. But we had 6 stations, all with the Yaesu FT1000Bs. Had a lot. I believe I distributed the list in this club of equipment. I did not turn away any offer, no matter how low. I just wanted the equipment to get me good home. So we ended up selling $35,000 worth of equipment. There's I have pictures. If anyone sees it. But so that's just one of them. So I went to high school at Bentley, over on 5 Mile, and start and took electronics, I think 3 years. And I have to shout out to the teacher there, Mr. Abar. I don't know if anyone else knows him, but I've looked for him to try and get in touch with them or something on Facebook or whatever before not heard that. So, all right, thank you. Sorry for going over time. So,
Yeah, we should go see options on and some business to attend to. And so anybody else?
no, because I did after my brother passed away, get my extra, get his.
So one of our newer members, Brian, would like to do this ordinance.
Sure. It's not too crazy, but it's very similar. I think Sean, I've had obviously CDs growing up. My dad had CDs, and I've got all my vehicles, all of them have CDs in them. We go up, take Wranglers off the sand dune, communicate that with my CD. Found out that wasn't quite good enough. Didn't quite get the range and everything else that we're looking for. So just last year, we tried to get into, or got into Jim Ross. It worked great on our property for hunting and fishing. You know, it's 60 acres, so it could cover the whole area. And I get home, finding out about repeaters, trying to hit the Detroit repeater from my house. You can't hit it in the house, but I can go 200 foot in my backyard and then it will work. So in the summer it's fine, but winter's kind of cold. So then I was like, that was October last year, and I'm like, nah, I need something with some more range. So started studying for ham, end of last year, got my license in January, and I think today is actually 2 months to today. And I think I'm approaching about 100 contacts already, just that community. And unlike maybe some of you were that my wife was saying I had to get a hobby, I got to get rid of some hobbies. Getting into this, getting out of like snowboarding, skiing and stuff as I'm getting a little bit older. But now you guys, some of you got me into 3D printing, and I got a new printer now. It's running every day, making multiple prints every day, so I'm just enjoying the heck out of it. So.
I got all the hobbies I can get. No, it's right. No. Alright, I've not heard from that table. I've not heard from this table. I've not heard from that table. Yeah, Ron, how about you?
Yeah, so my story starts basically back when I was a kid. My father was an amateur radio operator, and so was always kind of in the household. I started studying for a novice when I was about 10 or 11, and I did okay on the kind of theory side, but I could never really get disciplined to do the code. At that point, it's still a requirement. So fast forward to about 2020. I'm a professor now at Federal University, and the president of my physics club, she was also the president of the amateur radio club. And their advisor left, retired. She said, Mr. Freeman, can you come and help? Can you be an advisor for our new club? And I was like, well, yeah, I can do that. But I thought, gosh, I really probably ought to get a license. I'm mentioning that. So I started, just for discipline's sake, I started taking a class over at Schoolcraft College just to get the technician done. And it started in January 2020. And the last class was supposed to be our exam. And guess what happened in March? Everything shut down. So finally, the instructor contacted us. He said, well, there's these guys in the Livonia club, and they're doing testing in the backyard someplace. So let's just show up. That's what we take. And so I got my technician of general class license then, and now I'm up for extra class, and I'm now teaching. Pleased to report that in the last 6 months, I've had 39 students pass their technician exams. Students that can, you know, my story.
Actually, thanks. All right. Put me on the spot. Tim wants. All right. You might know. That's it. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tim, K8JMQ. I'm 11 out of 14 children. So, my eldest brother Greg is in the Marine Corps, and he used to work in one of those buildings that was surrounded by 100-foot, big, tall, fence all the way around. And he listened to Morse code, and came home on leave in Germany, explained how one of his radios worked. And then he came back a year later and had a girlfriend over. Oh, you got to see this! And I grabbed the radio, brought it out, started talking about how it works. It's like, remember all that? That was like fifth grade, fourth grade. And so he started mailing me all his correspondence about things. So I was on electricity and vacuum tubes and stuff in grade school, and then all through high school, I followed through with electronics and then became an electrician. Now I work with robotics engineers. So found out Ford has a club, Ford radio club. So I took my technician license over there, and then on field day I met some of you guys. It started coming to breakfast, and then got my brother Matt here to come with us also. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's been interesting. I've always been fascinated by radio. And my dad built a E-kit radio before I was born. And just by random luck, my brother's call saying KFADEP is my dad's initials. So I know that.
Great. Who's next? We got about 10 minutes. I got a couple people over here. Tables ahead.
In the early 50s, I built a single tube regenerative receiver, and was then in the late 50s, the first experience programming computers, getting back into computer. In the early 60s, I studied up and got a first-class radio telephone license, so I could work in radio stations. And then nothing since then. Recently, had a SDR, you know, those little things put on your computer, and got interested again. And I got as far as extra class license with no radio, as they say, all have no cattle. And so my wife got sorry for me. Yes, the way she said, if I would clean up my room
Well, I did, and I now have a case of 710.
Do we have anybody on Zoom? Is anybody? I don't know. Nobody said anything. That's okay. Anybody on Zoom? If you wanna give your origin story, just raise your. However you do that on Zoom, raise your hand. Exactly. That was it. All right. Since I was mean enough to set a time for us, I'll also set a timer for myself. So I grew up with my grandpa WAGNQ up at Flint, always being a hammies with him since I think 62 or 63. Whenever we would stop by his house, every morning between 8 and 10 a.m., he always talked with the same two guys, Ken and Bob. I think Ken was down in Arkansas and Bob was like 5 miles down the road. They would just chat out 40 meters every morning. And he would always, whenever we would stop by, he seemed to always be on the radio, whether talking to Ken and Bob or tuning around the bands. And, my dad's side of the family is pretty large. We have typically about 30 to 40 people at a Thanksgiving or Christmas, Easter gathering. And you could find me back in his Radio Shack just tuning around the bands, being antisocial. Fast forward then to college, I went to Michigan Tech, and two of my good friends from my major were part of the ham radio club, and one of them was actually the president of the ham radio club, W8YY up there at Hope, and just wasn't able to attend any of the meetings because at the same time as another club that I was a part of, and one of my classes, I was an IT major. One of my classes was wireless engineering, and extra credit for the class was to go to the ham radio club shack and make a 2-meter content with the professor using that ham radio club's call sign. So that was actually my first contact was under the supervision of one of the ham radio club members and getting extra credit with my professor. So then graduated, and a year later, I got my technician at the Salt Lion Club, and then about a year later, I got my general here at the Livonia Library, and yeah.
And now we're
Right,
waiting
right.
Yes.
Yeah. When is that happening again? I am in the process.
Ready to have
30% of the way. I'm just gonna. All of us are gonna make sure. I took it once, and I missed it by one question. Right. James.
All right, good evening, everybody. First of all, amateur radio's been in my blood. A couple of blocks from here. And I was lucky enough to have a 105-foot tower in the backyard that was grandfathered by the city of Livonia, courtesy of my father, the former W8WW. And I've been a member since '77. And with that, I'm probably one of the few people who actually was in the actual ham shack of KUNS, as our families were friends and everything. But from going to swaps with my father, he was the always go-to guy when he came out of the Army, the late '60s, and that came back with quite a bit of Collins gear, courtesy of Uncle Sam. And he'd always be at the swaps of the KWM2, or most importantly, twos, your Drake finals and your 6146s and everything. So going along to the swaps, helping, my Saturday mornings were going over to where the supplier was and cutting turnbuckles off of guy wire and climbing towers. My father had at times 20 to 30 sections of row 25 and 45 in our backyard on the ground. And people would come over and have them strapped to the roofs or whatever. I finally was licensed in '83 after years of doing this, even though I was constantly operating field aid and 2 meters and that with my father. Eventually upgraded to tech Of course, it was at LARC night out. I handed my father the paper, and his first question was, "Did you check the box?" Either like the KB8 BBL call that I had at the time. After my father passed, I went and in a scope of about 6 months, went from tech to extra, just to make sure to get the call, as that was one of, quote unquote, his dying wishes. But I tell you, I miss the tower in the backyard, but I enjoy the fun.
Thank you, Chief, so much. I think we got time for one more. About one of our visitors, our viewer. So want to go? Excellent.
Pleasure to meet you all. Name is Mark W88UNL, a call I had since 1967. Took my novice test in 1966. And back then, you only had your license for a year. So, but I was lucky because I had an uncle in the family who was a ham for maybe 10, 15 years before that. It was in the Signal Corps in the Pacific during the war. And when I saw his station when I was probably 12 or 13 years old, I said, "Boy, this might be really something interesting to get into." So I guess I was 13 years old, 14 years old, well, 60 years ago, bought an S38D receiver from a fellow who ran a radio and TV shop over on Joy Road and Appleline in Detroit, where I grew up. So that $25 radio was the first thing to start listening to. Like some of the folks that recollected the shortwave stations that used to be out there, so much stuff was on in English language, and it just isn't there anymore. And one of the ones I remember listening, of course, Moscow and Japan and Havana, but also the radio from Albania. And how great everything was behind the Iron Curtain at the time. So I remember all those stories and everything. But anyways, my father helped me with learning the Morse code, and my uncle gave me the novice test on our back porch in the summertime. And sent the paperwork in. Within a month, I had my license, and I built a DX60, and he loaned me an SX122 receiver. And about 9 months later, went downtown on 4th Street, took the fireman bus down, got a transfer, ended up on 4th Street, and just didn't quite make that code test the first time. And went back again probably a month later, passed the test, and got my general class in 1967, and then 1976 took the advanced class. But so it's been a great many years. I've been licensed, and a lot of fun. I'm trying to digital modes now too, and I used to do a lot more CW work, but now FT8, and early on in the digital modes, AmTOR was RTTY, some of that business, and also, but it's been a lot of fun. And it's been 60 years already. Boy, the years go by. Hope for many more. So join the CRS group at 3.854 at 8:30 in the morning, right, Mike? You got a great group of guys. All right. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, moving to our club business. Cliff, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for sharing your insight. That drives home my thought that ham radio people are endlessly fascinating. Come from a very diverse set of backgrounds, but we all kind of congregate in this realm, and it's very interesting to hear all your stories.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you
mean,
very
it's, I appreciate everybody that shared tonight. I think it is really cool.
Yeah, and I was really worried wanting to make it to the hour, and I was going to have to stand up here and tell stupid jokes.
It's a little task.
I first saw, that's why I grabbed a timer.
Exactly. But it just real quick, it's fascinating though. We do have, obviously a lot of diverse backgrounds and experiences here, but some of the similar entry points, right? Shortwave, a family member, CB, GMRS. So there's a lot of commonality amongst the way that we all found this hobby. So good, very good discussion. I enjoyed that. And on April 18th of next month, I will have my license 30 years. So
Yeah.
I was proud to have joined the Quarter Century Wireless Association a few years back. I'm like, hey, I can actually qualify for this now. So, all right, moving on here. Filtered full business, Mike's report, the secretary's report, it's available upon request, just let us know. Bill, you want to do the treasurer? Sorry, all right. I didn't think it.
Okay, I think probably a few people would be interested in how we did for the swap. So I have a final accounting there. Pre-sales took in almost $2,000. At the door, another $1,800, $1,900. The kitchen brought in $350. And our final profit at the end of the day, after all our expenses, was almost $2,400. So, pretty good. I do have a revised report from February. I was playing around trying to get it so I could do an audit. If you all had passed that on the like part of the change of Constitution, and somehow I ended up getting expenses in some cases that were double. So we had an income of $5,800, expenses of $1,900, and our ending balance was $14,600 for February. So March, again, $14,000. Got an income of $1,200. Donation of $905. One of our gentlemen was involved in a deceased ham's estate sale and donated the money to the club. We also had almost $300 in renewals, expenses of about $1,000. So our ending balance is $14,500. One more thing. Anybody have any questions before I go on? I have the annual for 2024. Started the year at $13,700. Took in $9,600. Spent $8,000, so we ended up with $15,400. Any questions on that? Thanks, sir. All right.
Yes.
You really want to talk about the 2-meter net?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And before I start, I would like to say, like how you started on the amateur radio is like one of those discussion topics we have on the weekly Thursday night, 8 p.m. net that this club runs on the 2-meter repeater. So if you enjoy today's listening to those people talk about how they started, you might also enjoy joining our 2-meter net Thursday night, 8 p.m. Thank you. All right, here's a report. Here's Siemens screen.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. All right, so this is just the statistics. We just keep new people coming in, and seems to increase the check-in numbers every year. So thank you very much. And activities are pretty good as well. Check-in procedures, I've been talking about it the last few meetings that YYZ have been kind of told me that we should kind of do this. So, and I kind of agree. We've tried to get the procedures for the check-ins streamlined so our net control can have a good time doing their job. And Net Logger, I've shown you before too. It's a very good tool. Someday I would like to actually show it live how it works as well, but at this point we just have a screenshot. And piece number 2, 88 SK has been running this Wayne County repeater crawl. And it's still going on. I still hear on the radio. So you might join. Schedules on this website, as you this is old website because header is a little different now, but still same format otherwise. There's who's going to be the net control upcoming, and also the discussion topic, like I said, how you became ham radio, or how you got over the mic fright, that type of stuff. Not too technical, so anybody should be able to join and have a good time. The NetLogger, once again, if you want to install it, just download this little presentation I had before, and you're good to go. And if you have any questions, of course, I'm always looking for net controls to just want to try out once, or you want to be part of the monthly rotation, just please drop me a line and we'll talk about it. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Sure. You've been, software wise, one of them.
Safety works. Just to let you know that work is continuing on our club management system, so that we're trying to computerize the club records, the membership and stuff like that. There is progress being made. I don't have enough along to actually show the general meeting today. There wouldn't be enough that would be interesting, but other things are coming up that we're glad they're coming up and going to take some time to sort out. For example, how much information that we are collecting now do we really need to collect, and are we using? So we're trying to deal with that kind of information. We don't want to collect information that we don't have anything really to do with. There is some stuff available that the board has seen on the system, but again, it's not far along that we can show the general meeting yet. So, but it's going forward, and hopefully we'll accelerate the pace at which it's going at, and we'll have something to show relatively soon. So that's it.
Thanks for you. Yeah, I'm excited about the changes that'll be coming with that. I think the whole process will be a lot more streamlined. And even the experience of renewals, things like that will be a lot better for everybody there. So all right. We do have one last piece of old business, but I don't know what our count is. That would be vote on the bylaws and constitution. I lost count of my fingers and toes how many people was out here tonight.
Where's the sign-in sheet now?
There's 40 people that signed in.
40, so we needed 9.
No, it's just a quorum, so 1/3 of the membership.
When we do that math right now. Sure.
What do you have, 118?
118. So
38.9 people. No, for consultation.
yeah.
So we're one over the quorum amount.
Right.
Then we've got people online too, right?
Yes. So there we go. Okay. So we are at folks. Thanks, Zach, for his quick math there. To vote on the Constitution and
Not Constitution. No, that's right. I thought you were talking about funding for this.
Oh no,
No, we don't have enough Constitution.
Yeah. So I was thinking,
Yeah.
We need
let's say 45.
we need 59.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about how.
No, that's good. Okay. Let's fit it up. So that's the question. Okay. All right. Well, we'll take the table until we have our majority folks present. Realistically, what I would imagine is going to happen is we're probably have to push a little hard to this in September when we come back from break. I think it's probably going to be timing wise, but at any time we can get everybody here. So, all right. Any other old business? Any questions on that before we move on? Let's go to new business. Well, we have our new members and license upgrades. Oh,
Welcome, Kevin.
yeah, so Kevin. And do we have any relatives? Yeah.
What if we did it somewhere else?
Yeah.
Perrysburg Swap.
Okay.
Good.
Extra?
Up to Jen.
General?
General, congratulations. Love it. All right. 2026 swap. Well, I gave you one piece of information about the volunteers and the entry fee getting waived, but we have some more important things that we need to talk about with that as well. I need a swap committee. Looking around at all your smiling faces, and I need some folks to get involved to kind of help plan that 2026 swap. I talked about it in my article, which I didn't really looking for things like, from the logistics of getting it together, from how do you handle, like, is there a better way to handle identification, like from lanyards to wristbands to stamps? How do we do all these little intricate pieces? And we recognize that there's room for improvement, there's room to streamline some of this stuff. And we've got a lot of smart folks in this club. So if you are interested in being a part of the swap committee, and it's never too soon to kind of get the ball rolling on these things, just reach out, email the board, and we'll start collecting and getting you all together. But I've been saying this is the year of the volunteer, and I really, really could use a good group to get together and start putting their heads together on this stuff. So, one other thing is really not related to the swap committee, but an opportunity that came up during swap was to have VE testing available. It's not uncommon, right, in Perrysburg, to have VE testing during that time. The South Lion Club had suggested they volunteered to run it. We've investigated what the cost is for the room. It's not very big deal when we off rooms there at the venue. So just something that it's also going to be kind of a bonus for the 2026 swap is to have that there. Maybe that brings in more traffic too. So did I miss anything about that? Any questions on the swap committee or the VE testing that we're thinking about doing?
Hey, Sean, just one quick comment is that with the swap promotion and marketing, it doesn't have to be just the group doing it. You can go talk about it during your nets. Go on Facebook. When I was promoting Livonia's other repeater, the outdoor swap, I would go on Facebook Marketplace and look for various things that would fit there and message to people and let them know about the swap. Individually, you could do a little bit where you belong to different groups or anything like that, where you can promote it. You don't have to just rely on what we're putting on Facebook, what we're putting on Craigslist or anything. There might be a niche that each member here can fill with that. And, the flyer is something simple. Just download it, upload it to places, tell people. You never know what you might get.
Yeah, and that's another piece. As I was naming all things that the swap committee could potentially do, kind of marketing piece of it. Everybody in this room knows about the swap, so we're good. So how do we get that out to everybody else? So that's a good point there, James. It's just something else that we'd like that committee to tackle. Okay, now something that I do need to vote on, or something else I do need to vote on, but I got enough people. Oh, yeah, Bill, please.
I would, just as an aside, the 2026, whatever date we want to establish, we should do it by the 1st of September. So if it's going to be committee, we need to get it organized so we can get that date firm.
So we need that committee really before September 1st so that we're ready to do some sort of proposal.
At least it is agree on a date.
Yeah. Okay. Good point there. All right. So, we took a strong poll at the last meeting, and it seemed like everybody was interested in continuing to have meetings here at St. Aidan's Activity Center. We've got back in the namesake city of the club, and practically we're outgrowing Plymouth Library. I thought it was super convenient being just down the street from my house, but no, you know, we're getting to a point where folks might even have to start standing, and that's not gonna be okay, right? And we're kind of cramped in there. So all that being said is, we do have the opportunity to continue our meetings here, at the very least through February of 2026. Uh, but we do, because we didn't have this idea in mind when we created or it wasn't really set in stone when we did the budget. We don't have a line item in here for the expense. So, to continue having the meetings through February of 2026, so about time we're redoing budgets for, that year, that's a cost of $400. So it's $50 a meeting for us.
You need a motion.
I'm sorry?
Do you need a motion?
I do need a motion. Thank you, James. So I've got a motion from James to allocate $400 to continue to meet at St. Aidan's. Do I have a second? Keith, one. Thank you. There's like a 3-way tie, but thank you, Keith. Okay, all those in favor of allocating $400 so we can continue meeting at St. Aidan's through February of 2026, raise your hand.
You get to count.
Yeah.
I got 2 on the screen, 3 on the screen.
1, 2, 4, 4, 7,
38, 39.
8 on screen.
Okay, 38, 8, 46.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know who is in touch with the pastor here, but maybe we can pass on that they can propagate to the congregation that we meet here.
Already
We may
done.
get some kids, okay, we may get some kids or something.
Already done.
Nice. Well, let's finish up here. So we've got, we are going to continue to be here at St. Aidan's. Thank you all for that. So our motion carries. But also a good idea too. That you had there, James. All right, getting kind of ramping up here. Is there anything for great activities, helping hands, court forum?
How about a weird request for the generators?
I'll take
Has it always been the case with upgrades that they won't tell you what you got on the test?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I had to watch the guy slide the little template counter over
Secret.
and listen to them count how many I had wrong. When I asked, they said, no, we don't ever tell you this. And that's always been the case.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting policy of how it works. You know, it's like, you just tell them what you pass or you're being like a clock, which would be awesome. But
Answers, yes.
really,
BD book says you can answer.
I'm will say B book says that you can do it. Then.
South Line, because I asked you, remember when
Yeah.
I started being B? Yeah.
That's right. We talked about that too. So slaps and say. So yes, they should have told you. If you ask, yeah. All right. So anything for the court board? Anything people need help with from an Elmering perspective? President Mike would say no tower work. I don't know. Some people have like that. I used to do it. I don't do it anymore.
I got the climbing belt if anyone needs it.
Scary. All right, so we've got upcoming meetings and events, of course. We've learned 2 years Thursdays at 8 p.m. with early check-ins starting at 7:45 on the good old 145.35 megahertz K8 UNS repeater, 100 hertz PL. Our next board meeting is on April 14th. I believe we're in April. And as always, keep an eye on our award-winning website for any of the latest and greatest information on the Livonia Radio Club. Mr. Ron.
Yeah, just an announcement. So April 18th is World Amateur Radio Day. This is actually the 100th anniversary of the establishment of the International Amateur Radio Institute. And so they're encouraging people from all across the country to have open houses or other public events. I don't know if this club is interested in doing that. You don't have to do it on that day, it can be any time in April. This is also being done in cooperation with the HAM side, which is the Ham Citizen Science Investigation. as well as a group called Science Starter. They're trying to encourage people to do 1,000,000 acts of science during the month of April as part of that project. And by act of science, they mean anything that's sort of science related or reading, like simple measurement, like taking an SWR reading on an antenna. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. So if you see people around, other clubs maybe doing something, let people know about it. Trying to get the word out about science and just showing that amateur radio is a cutting edge kind of thing.
Sure. Thank you, Rob. This time you said April 18th?
April 18th. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There's Peter Crowley Day, right?
There you go. There's scientific thing. Any other announcements or business that we want to talk about tonight? Yeah, please.
No, I just want to push the Michigan QSO party.
Yeah.
If you ever want to, if you've ever wanted to or tried to get on a field day, and it's like this massive, roaring noise coming out of the speaker, and I don't want to have anything to do with that, but I'd like to operate. Well, Michigan QSO party is the place you want to be. There's not anywhere near the number of stations. You don't have to fight the QRM to get on. But there's enough stations on that when you call CQ, somebody comes back to you. So you're not sitting there calling for 5 minutes waiting for somebody to come back. So there's plenty of activity. It's not hard. There will always be a few of us around there. And even for the person who's first time of getting on HF, we can tutor and help. And within a few minutes, depending upon the individual, it won't take long to get comfortable.
No,
you make your reservation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got to do that for myself.
And I can vouch for Alan. He's the one that beat Mike Fright out of me by very, very nicely just putting me on the mic during field day and going for it. So when he says there's people there that can help get through it.
Yeah, we love to get people on the first time.
What's funny is after you and my daughter operated most of the night,
yeah,
she goes, he's a good operator.
There you go. Of course,
She's been around enough.
And for some of the new members too, it's at the Plymouth Police Department, the EOC.
Yes.
Livonia.
Now, for when we have to have a sign up list. Are we gonna have to do that?
No, basically the membership.
Okay, so it's.
I will be providing them with a list of members.
A guide of, if you've never been to the EOC, the link right here is to a guide that kind of lets you know about the EOC and how to get there.
But it is a different pace than field day. I mean, your exchange is 5.9 lane, because everybody's 5.9 in the conference stretch. So even if you ask for a review about 30 minutes, it's 5.9. That's my little soapbox. But yeah, it's a fun contest. And we're going. Last year we went up to I think it died out maybe 5 minutes till midnight. Is when everybody kind of just. I was calling up to the last minute, but no taker. But up to that point, it was me too.
My first experience with HF was a USO party last year, which was a good thing. But since then, I bought 2 HF radios, so it could be costly.
Oh yeah. This is a hard you go down to the mountain. Real expensive one too if you want to. But it's a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed the 30 years that I've been doing it. And I'm still learning something. There's something about this hobby that it's one of the fascinating pieces of it. To me, it's still magical. Well, maybe that's corny, but it is. I think there's some magic to it, and there's endless learning opportunities. I don't think anybody can learn every facet of amateur radio and get to apply it. There's always something new there. Yeah, and just as soon as you do, there is something new that comes on there. That's right.
We'll be getting together on Friday for antennas.
What we usually do it around 1.
And we publicize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sign up, please.
Yes, definitely need help with setup. I'm not going to be able to be there for setup this year, so you need one extra person for sure. Anything else for tonight, ladies and gentlemen? All right. Well, we're gonna shut this thing down at 8:24. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Be safe and healthy.